The gentleman from Florida, Mr. DeSantis, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Welcome, Director. Secretary Clinton's emails were backed up on a cloud by Datto, Inc., and they're now subject to an order by U.S. District Judge Moss and a case by Judicial Watch. My question is, why did the FBI not search the Datto device in its possession for Hillary's deleted email?
I believe decisions made in the course of the Clinton email investigation are all the subject of the Inspector General's review.
The FBI didn't disclose that such device was in its possession?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Was Attorney General Lynch's airplane cabin monitored when she met with Bill Clinton on 27 June 2016 on the tarmac in Phoenix?
I don't know the answer to that, and I think that the tarmac meeting, is part of or related to the Inspector General's outside and independent investigation.
You know how the meeting came about, though? It's not like you just bumped someone in a shopping mall. They met on a private plane or plane. Do you have any insight into that?
I wouldn't say that I have any constructive insight to offer to that. I've read some of the same newspaper coverage that you have, but as I said, that whole episode is wrapped up in the Inspector General's ongoing investigation.
How did the Russia investigation start? Did Peter Strzok, did he start it?
I'm not aware of who started the investigation within the FBI. Was it
started because the dossier was presented to somebody in the FBI?
I don't have the answer to that question.
Okay, can you get the answer to that question for us?
Well, if there's information that we can provide that without compromising the ongoing special counsel investigation, I'm happy to see what there is that we can do to be responsive.
Was Peter Strzok involved in coming up with the conclusion that the FBI reached about Russia, whatever involvement they had when they issued a report after the election?
That's a question that goes right to the heart of the special counsel investigation, and I don't think it would be appropriate for me to speculate or comment on that.
So here's, I think, the problem that you have. I think you're walking into a contempt of Congress. I mean, the idea that we can't conduct oversight over how the FBI is handling things that are very sensitive, and then you're going to come to us and say we should reauthorize all these programs willy-nilly. I just think you're wrong on that. And I don't think you're trying. I don't know what advice you've got, but we do have a right to conduct oversight. We all can deal with classified information all the time. So we have a question about how this dossier was generated for political purposes. It ended up in the FBI's possession. What did the FBI do with it? And your answer to us is you will not give us any information on that today.
My answer has a couple parts to it. There's certain of the various questions that have been asked here today. There's some topics that I think it's not appropriate to discuss in open forum. There's some topics that are classified.
Whether you use it or not, though, is not classified. Go ahead.
There are some topics where, even though the information is classified, we can and do and will share it with the committees in an appropriate setting. And then there are some topics that go straight to, even though it's not just a question of classification, that goes straight to access to sensitive sources and methods, which is something that all of us as Americans have to take very, very seriously.
The chairman of the Intelligence Committee has a right to that, and you won't even produce it to the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. So here's the problem. Whether Strzok was involved in this, that needs to be disclosed to Congress. Whether the dossier was used to generate surveillance with a FISA court on a Trump associate, that needs to be disclosed to Congress. I don't care about the sources and methods beyond. We know where the sources and methods. It was the Democratic Party paying Fusion GPS to get the dossier. So we know that. The question is, how did your organization use it? You weren't there during that time, but if they were getting this information from a political party and then using it for surveillance against an opposition party candidate, that's a problem. Do you agree that that would be a problem for the American people?
I do agree, Congressman, that any inappropriate use of the FISA process for political purposes is something that we should all be very concerned about and take very seriously.
So we need the answers to that. It's very. Let me ask you this. Independence from politics, I agree, but the FBI, like all agencies, need to be accountable to someone. So let me ask you this. Would it have been inappropriate if President Kennedy ordered Director Hoover to stop surveilling Martin Luther King Jr. in, say, 1962 if he believed that surveillance was illegitimate?
No.
Right. So you would be accountable. Is it customary to draft an exoneration memo long before interviewing all relevant witnesses, including the target of that investigation?
Well, I do believe that in any investigation, final decisions and conclusions should wait until, as Congressman Gowdy said, until the last witness has been reached. On the other hand, I also know from having done investigations both for the government and in the private side that as the investigation develops, you start forming views about what you're finding, all subject to revision and in some cases withdrawal until you're done.
Fair enough. Is it acceptable practice for FBI agents to leak official work product to the media?